We in Chatham House engage in a lot of conferences and debates, and we work with different arguments, and we hear different arguments from people justifying to a certain degree the Kremlin's position. And really these narratives are quite repetitive. In my case, the fact that Crimea was always Russian and all Russia did was just restoring historical justice. This is a very important myth, because what happened around the annexation of Crimea was, for the first time since the Second World War, the borders of the independent state were changed by force. Crimean Autonomous Republic was part of an independent Ukrainian state that was recognized in its borders and territories, including by the Russian Federation in a bilateral agreement. And what President Putin did in 2014, he basically authorized a military operation and staged it as a peaceful uprising against the Kiev, and used his proxy military formations on the Crimean peninsula. So it's important because it sets a very dangerous precedent of borders in modern times in Europe changed by force, which is of course in violation of the international law. We already see a grave violation of human rights, and Crimean Tatars who under Ukrainian state had full freedom of religion, assembly, their own self-governing unit. Now all of this is being labeled as extremist organizations and shut down. It's interesting that for most Russians, Crimea, it's mostly the heroic place of Russian military history that in a way became part of Russian history through the conquest of Catherine the Great, who wanted to control Crimea in order to move westwards to establish a second Byzantium in the Constantinople. And this is why for Russian president who has this expansionist fantasy, the retaking of Crimea from Ukraine was in a way building on that narratives of Russia being great again and Russia having a strong military base. This myth is kind of penetrating into the narratives in the West, because there are a lot of sanctions that are linked to annexation of Crimea, and there is a group of politicians and political parties in the West or more on the right-wing spectrum. So for them it's convenient, this myth, to say, okay, but it was always Russian. I think it's important to look at the longer history of the peninsula in order to understand what its true identity is.